Alrighty, hello and welcome in everyone. I'm so glad you're here with me this afternoon, Friday afternoon here. I don't know about for you, this is my last thing of the day and I'm going to be signing off for a nice weekend. So I am very thankful you have chosen to spend a little bit of time with us here at Archer. Today we are, of course, continuing our anatomy discussions. I know when it comes to TEAS science, anatomy can definitely be one of the stickier parts. Maybe some of you haven't taken the class yet. You're trying to go ahead and get that exam done. So we are taking it kind of system by system, knocking it out here with these free webinars. Again, my name is Dr. Morgan Taylor. I'm an NP. I love anatomy. I can't wait to go through this info with you guys today. If you could, just pop in the comments where you're joining from so I can say hi and we'll get started here right at the top of the hour. I am broadcasting over from North Carolina. So hello, hello. Welcome. Glad you are here. Hi, Rita, Dory, awesome. Glad you guys are joining today. We've got from Richmond. Hey there, Emmanuel. Glad you are back. Welcome. From Georgia, Southern California, New York over here. Amazing. We've got all our areas covered as usual. I am not going to waste any time. We're going to be hopping right in here because I want to make sure you guys get in, get out, and get the info you need. As always, we are covering the anatomy you need for the pre-nursing exams, for your TEAS, for your HESI. Are we going to be absolutely anatomy experts within the next hour? No. But the TEAS doesn't expect you to be, right? Let's make sure we take a deep breath and we don't ask too much of ourselves. We really need to know the basics. Remember, this is the test of essential academic skills, and that's what we're going to hit home today. Part 5, last part, we are going through reproductive and endocrine systems. We're starting off here with reproductive, which actually is like kind of challenging in some ways because we have to talk about two different sets of organs. We've got the female reproductive system and the male reproductive system. We always start out with structures, identify what's where, and then we'll figure out what its function is. What does it actually do for us? So we'll start out female, all right? Girls rule, let's go first and look at external and then internal anatomy. Okay, terminology is everything when it comes to these exams. You've got to know what to call things so that when they ask you questions about it, you know what they're referring to. So we've got first the labia majora. Anytime you see majora, major, think like the larger parts. So these are the outermost and larger folds. That's what's protecting everything inside. That's part of the reason for pubic hair. We want to have a protective covering, okay? And then inside we have the smaller lips, so minora, minor, think smaller. That is going to be encircling the clitoris and creating a hood that goes downwards towards the urethra. You see that there in the middle. And of course, the labia minora are really helping protect that as well as the opening into the vagina right there. Then lastly, at least for our external anatomy on this slide, we have the clitoris here. This is homologous to the bulb of the penis in males. I think that's very interesting. We kind of see the yin and the yang of different parts versus male versus female. Let's go to our next slide here. Continuing down this diagram here, the urethra, that is, of course, connecting back to our genitourinary system that we talked about on Tuesday. Right there, we talked about how the labia minora help protect that. We talked about the vaginal opening. And then one more term. Honestly, you guys, if there's any of these terms that you remember from me, I really want you to remember perineum. The perineum, because this is just like something that you don't think about as much. It supports the internal organs as well as the pelvic floor, okay? So this is very, very important for reproduction, for childbirth. We're going to circle back to this several times. Quick little knowledge check first, though, okay? I want you to tell me which external structure is primarily responsible for sexual intercourse and childbirth. What do you guys think? We've talked structure so far. Tell me what you think function-wise. Give me one of these. Okay, nice job, Florentina. Nice. Good. Zumu, awesome. Alicia, you have got it. It, in fact, is D, sexual intercourse and childbirth. The vaginal opening is very, very important for both of those. Labia majora, remember, that's protecting our internal organs. There's fewer nerve endings there. It's more about protection. And the labia minora is still about protection. It's creating that hood around the clitoris as well as extending downward to protect over that urethra. And then we have the clitoris, remember, homologous to that bulb of the penis in the male reproductive system. It is for sexual arousal. So, of course, important for sexual intercourse, doesn't have a role as much so in childbirth. So, vaginal opening, best answer there. Okay, one more question, and then we're going to look at the internal organs. I want you guys to tell me difference between labia majora and minora. Read through these, tell me the difference. Make sure you understand these structures. All right, nice. Good job, Florentina. Emmanuel, you've got it. Very nice. It is A. That is, oops, I went backwards. Sorry, guys. I tried to go forwards and I messed up. It is A here. Absolutely. That labia majora is protecting the internal structures. That's why it has fewer nerve endings. The minora is about protecting the clitoris. It forms that hood and extends down towards the urethra. Okay. Enough about the external. We've got a lot more going on inside, okay? We'll first flip over to males. So we have, you guys know, of course, the penis. We talked about the bulb of the penis, homologous for that clitoris. The urethra is that pinker tube you're seeing. That is demonstrating the bringing the urine down from the bladder. But in male physiology, we've got one more. It also has an opening for sperm to exit the body as well. So it's like two lanes. We've got two different things going on there. And then the structure behind the penis, of course, we have the scrotum holding the testicles, lots and lots of nerve endings and blood vessels right there. All right. So quick little check-in. I think you guys have all got this, but tell me which male reproductive structure is primarily responsible for carrying both that urine and sperm. Yeah, you guys have got this. You know this. Nice job, Alicia, Florentina, Emmanuel. You know it. You know it. That is the urethra. So both males and females have urethra. For females, that's just going to carry urine, right? That's how urine exits the bladder. But for males, it's carrying urine and sperm. So I think that's an important piece to know. Okay, now we've covered external for everybody. I jumped ahead. I was ready to go internal for females. Here we go. There's a lot going on inside that we cannot see on the outside. And we need all of that to grow an egg. That's called an ovum or an ova. That egg can be then fertilized by the sperm, implant into the uterus, gestate, grow a fetus, and then, of course, give birth. So, lots of structures going into making all those functions happen. And we're going to start all the way up here with the ovaries. There's a right and a left ovary. This is where eggs are produced and then ultimately released once per month into the fallopian tube. In the fallopian tube, they make their journey on the way to the uterus. So I think of the fallopian tube as just like the highway delivery system from the factory that produced the egg to where the baby is going to grow. Interestingly, this is where the egg can be fertilized. Once it's been released into the uterus, if it's not already fertilized, it's usually not going to result in a pregnancy. So that's the window of time the sperm have to fertilize. Let's say that does happen, then they'll go into the uterus and implant in the uterine lining. You'll hear the uterus also called the womb, and that's where gestation occurs. We have implantation and then gestation for approximately 9 months. All right. Ovaries, fallopian tube, uterus. Coming down, we now have the cervix. I think of the cervix as the gate. It's kind of donut shaped. It kind of looks like a little like Debbie donut. And it's going to be closed so that we are maintaining a barrier between inside the nice, comfy uterus where baby's hopefully growing and outside where there can be germs and trauma and who knows what other crazy stuff. Okay. So the cervix is like the gate between inside and outside. Outside of the cervix is then where the vaginal canal is, and that's what goes out to the external, like we already saw in our diagram. Okay, so checking in on the function again, make sure. Let's read through a little bit of a harder question. You guys have warmed up, so you're ready for a little more. We've got a woman coming into her OBGYN, and she says she's got extreme pain on one side. They say, oh my gosh, you're 8 weeks pregnant and the fertilized egg is stuck in that tube that connects the ovary to the uterus. This is known as an ectopic pregnancy. All right, what structure did this fertilized egg get stuck in? Read that description again if you need to. I'll give you a few seconds. It's describing the tube connecting the ovary to the uterus, and it wants to know the name of that. Is that the vagina, the cervix, the uterus, or the fallopian tube? Good. All right. I think we're 100% there. You guys have got it. The fallopian tube. Fallopian tube connects that ovary to the uterus. So remember, that's where fertilization occurs. But if a fertilized egg gets stuck and starts to grow there, I mean, let's go back and look at this. Are we really going to have room in that little tube for a baby to grow as it gets bigger and bigger? That's going to cause a lot of problems. So that's an ectopic pregnancy. We definitely don't want that. Now tell me, which of the following statements distinguish the cervix from the vagina? Okay. What do we think? All right, nice. Good guess. Even if you don't know it, you can take a guess. That's okay. We're all learning here together, no problem. Okay, let's start from the top. We're going to work our way down together. Make sure that we all understand this. Okay, so we had a couple people say A, the cervix is the outermost part of the genitalia. That's incorrect. The cervix is that gate connecting internal to outernal. So the vagina is that muscular tube leading to the uterus, that more external part, okay? Cervix is the gate into the inside. Now, B, the cervix is the primary structure in sexual arousal. That is not true. I think you guys remember from our external anatomy, the clitoris is the organ that is important in arousal. Now, C, the cervix is a narrow passage connecting the uterus to the vagina. Yes, we know it's that gate from inside to outside. While the vagina is an elastic muscular canal extending from the cervix out to that external genitalia. Yes, ding, ding, ding. We got a winner. C is absolutely correct. And then why was D wrong? The cervix is the birth canal? No, the cervix isn't the birth canal. Remember, the cervix is that gate. the internal, lets you into the internal uterus. The birth canal is the vagina. So during delivery or during labor, I really should say, the cervix does something called effacement, where it actually first dilates and gets up to 10 centimeters and then effaces or thins so that we don't have as much of a gate blocking that passageway. Again, that's kind of like the door opening so then the baby can actually go out the birth canal, which is the vagina. Okay. You guys have got that. I think we are good. We understand why C is correct here. So internal structures for females, check. Let's look at internal structures for males. We already talked external about the penis, the scrotum, the testicles. We looked at the urethra. Now let's go up and look at what produces the sperm and how that's delivered. So first we have the seminal vesicles. These are right here, kind of most internal all the way up at the top. They make and store fluid, which is basically like glucose, the sugar, the food that sperm needs. Okay, so constantly producing that fluid. Then coming down a little further, this white kind of colored bulb that we see, that is the prostate. That adds fluid for ejaculation, nourishing the sperm. So we've got seminal vesicles and prostate right here. And then we're hooking up to the vas deferens. That's the orange colored tube right here, where we are actually going to have the tube that sperm travels through when leaving that epididymis and going into the urethra. Remember, in males, that urethra delivers both urine and sperm. Now coming down to the testicles, we know external, we have the scrotum, internal, we have the testicles. This is the primary reproductive organ. It's what actually makes the sperm. The epididymis is the tube towards the back of the testicle that actually holds it and then aids in delivering and developing that sperm. So the testicles produce, it's then stored in the epididymis, goes in through the vas deferens until it gets to the urethra and is delivered. Okay, so let's check in on those structures again. All right, we've got a male patient with acute pain. On exam, the pain is localized to the structure that transports sperm from the epididymis to the urethra. Which structure is most likely affected? So they've described the location of something for you, and you have to tell us what structure it is. So we've got the structure that transports sperm from the epididymis to the urethra. I'll go ahead and I'll give you guys a minute, and then I had a request to go back to the order to that photo, and I'll go back to it. Transports sperm. Which organ is that? Good. You guys have got it. Yes, it is the vas deferens. So here is the photo that was asked for. The vas deferens is right here, that orange tube. So sperm produced in that testicle here, that's the primary reproductive organ for males. It's then stored in the epididymis, which is the tube towards the back of the testicle, and it holds it there until it is ready. It then travels through the vas deferens, the tube that travels through while leaving the epididymis and going up to the urethra. Because you see there, we're also getting that seminal vesicle and prostate releasing fluid as well as sperm into that urethra. So that's kind of the order. Looks like you guys have got that down. Okay, so one more check. Tell me which structures are in the scrotum. The scrotum, we've got external, and then I'll tell you there's two structures inside of the scrotum that we were just looking at. Mm-hmm. Which ones? The urethra, the testicles, the epididymis, the vas deferens. Good. Okay. I think you guys are on it. Yes. B and C. the testicles, and the epididymis. The testicles are going to make the sperm, the epididymis is going to store it, and then it's going to travel to the urethra via the vas deferens. All right, so there you guys go. We've got our basic structure and function. We know ultimately all of this is trying to reproduce. Why do we have a reproductive system? For reproduction. We talked about fertilization occurring in that fallopian tube. Let's actually talk about how that looks moving forward. If we successfully have the joining of a spermatocyte and an ovum, we will first form a zygote in that fallopian tube. Then the cell division starts. That cell's got to divide and multiply to form into a blastocyst. And how does it do that? Mitosis. That is how the cell divides and multiplies multiple times so that the zygote forms a blastocyst. That blastocyst is what makes its way into the uterus and hopefully implants into the uterine lining. From there, it will keep growing and growing until it is an embryo and then a fetus. After 40 weeks, that's our normal gestation, plus or minus 2 weeks, then we can have birth, okay? Zygote, blastocyst, embryo, fetus, birth, and then woohoo, we have a baby. So I want to check. Did you guys catch the order of that? Tell me the correct sequence for these stages of development. Tell me which letter put those in the right order. Nice. Okay. Good, good, good. I think we mostly got it. B is correct. It starts out as the zygote. That is when we just have a sperm fertilizing an egg. They've joined. Boom, we've got a zygote. Then we have to divide while we're traveling through the fallopian tube. Divide, divide, get bigger, bigger. That's when we have a blastocyst. The blastocyst is what implants in the uterine lining, grows into an embryo, and then ultimately a fetus. Okay, let's talk a little testing strategy here, okay? How do you guys feel about your different test taking strategies? I'm willing to bet most of you knew that fetus was the last step, that was ultimately what we were going for. I don't think any of you thought that the fetus started first. So with that being said, you could narrow it down to two answer choices, couldn't you? You knew fetus had to be last, so you just had to come over here between B and C and make your decision. And I think that's what some of you did because I saw some B's and some C's. So what I recommend is from there, tuck away in your brain what's first. The zygote comes first. I remember this because the Z is the last letter in the alphabet, but it comes first. And that just sticks in my head. That's silly, but it sticks in my head. So if you know the zygote's first, the fetus is last, boom, you've already been able to find your answer. Yeah? Okay. Now I've told you this 15 times, so I better see all of you get this right. Where does fertilization take place? Okay, yep. Thank you. Thank you. I'm very glad you guys got this because I had said this too much in the fallopian tube. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, we looked at structures, we looked at functions. You guys have got the basics. Now I want to talk about how all of this gets controlled through hormones. Hormones are what regulate our reproductive system. Now, we are going to really talk about hormones as we jump in to the endocrine system. This is where the endocrine and the reproductive system go together super nicely. The endocrine system is all about hormones and really helps us control all those functions that are happening in the reproductive system. So before we jump into system number 2, I just want to do a little pulse check in. How are we feeling? Everybody's still good, hanging with me? Are you like, oh no, this is horrible. Please stop talking. All right. At least Emmanuel is feeling awesome. So I'll take that. I'll take that. If this is too much, if you're like, where is this recording? I need these notes. I do want to take a second to show you where to get them. I recognize a lot of your names, so I think a lot of you already have our package that offers this recording. If you don't, though, I'm going to send everybody the link here. You do just go to archerreview.com and click on teas. Let me just copy that in here so y'all have it. You can try it for free. I just want you to know where the notes and the recording are so that you can actually get to them. So you head over here and then you can just come down, click on, I recommend clicking on SurePass. Scroll down and you're going to see all the package options. SurePass has your questions, your on demand, and all of these live videos as well. So when you actually log in, this is what it'll look like. You got T's over here, you got your question bank, you can make all your practice tests, and then you got your on demand videos. They're filtered up at the top. I also just like this search. So like endocrine, here we go. Boom. Here's the endocrine system. All of the functions, the hormone classifications, etc. We can click on that and then we can see the handouts right here. Cool. Pause that. We don't actually want to play that video. So you'll see all of the notes, everything that we're going through right now. That is where you find it. Buy the SurePass, come over on the side, on-demand videos. You'll see them there. And the notes are also, you can click that paperclip. Okay. Hopefully that is helpful. Hopefully you guys will use what you need from that. Feel free to let me know if you have questions about it as we go. But I know this moves quick and you might need to refer back to it, watch the video again. So I wanted you to have where to do that. Okay, so let's really dig in to our endocrine system because we went through structures and functions for reproductive, and we wanted to start talking about how we control those functions. And like I said, it all happens with hormones. When I think about what the functions of the endocrine system are, it is wide. There is few and far between that the endocrine system doesn't do. It's our stress response. It helps our blood pressure stay up. It helps with that reproduction. It helps us grow, control our appetite, our sleep cycles. I mean, pretty much everything in our body, the endocrine system has some sort of control over. And it does it through hormones. Hormones are little chemical messengers. I say each hormone has a little signal that it's trying to pass on, and it travels through the blood to the tissues to the organs, and then whatever its message is, it acts on those different cells, organs, and tissues. Okay? Now, those hormones are released and received by tons of different areas of the body. These endocrine structures or organs that release hormones are here. We have the pancreas, the gonads, which are the ovaries and testes we just talked about. In the brain, we've got the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, and the hypothalamus. So, three different places up in the brain that all help us produce hormones. Then we have the adrenal glands, the thymus, the thyroid, and behind the thyroid, the parathyroid. So, whew, all throughout your body, you have organs that produce hormones and send their signal out to other tissues, bringing messages throughout the body. Kind of a complicated process, okay? And again, I know you guys aren't going to be experts at every single one of these, but we are going to go over the high level, what you have to know for the T's. Let's start with the pancreas. It is kind of behind the stomach in the abdominal area, and it produces a hormone called insulin and a hormone called glucagon. Those are the two hormones in your body that regulate blood sugar levels. Does anyone know, bonus points if you can like put in the chat for me, is it insulin or glucagon that makes your blood sugar go down. They're both in charge of regulating it. Which one of those hormones makes your blood sugar go down? You guys are smart. You are ready. Yes, insulin. Thank you, Emmanuel, Alicia, Zumu. Insulin makes your blood sugar go down, and glucagon makes your blood sugar go up. So that's how pancreas releases a hormone, insulin and glucagon, to regulate your body's blood sugar. Okay, now the next one, this ties back into what we were just talking about, the gonads, the ovaries, and the testes. There are several hormones that these endocrine organs produce. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone are the big three I want you to remember. And everybody makes all of these, but they're in different levels in males versus females. What are these hormones going to do? They are going to help us develop secondary sexual characteristics. So they're starting to release more in times of life like puberty when women develop breasts or when either gender develops pubic hair, things like that. Males' voices deepen, they grow taller. All of this hormones. They are also involved in reproduction, okay? In the ovary, we have to produce enough estrogen to be able to even release an egg from that ovary down the fallopian tube. Then, in that uterine lining, we have to produce enough progesterone to build up a lining that a blastocyst could implant into. So that's how you see endocrine organs producing hormones, regulating the function of a whole nother system of your body. They really all talk to each other. All right, two organs down. Let's look at our next. We're going to go into the brain. I told you we have three places in the brain that act as endocrine organs. The first is the pituitary gland. A lot of people call this the master gland because it really controls other endocrine glands. It's going to help regulate a ton of stuff, growth and development. It's kind of behind the bridge of your nose. So if you have head trauma, sometimes we end up with damage to the pituitary gland. Next, we have the pineal gland. Now, people don't think about this one a lot. This is kind of left out of some endocrine lectures, but it's, in my mind, very important because it produces one of my favorite hormones, melatonin. What does melatonin help us with? Our sleep patterns, that circadian rhythm, being able to sleep at night and be awake during the day. That comes from the endocrine organ, your pineal gland, with the hormone melatonin. All right, last one in the brain is the hypothalamus. It's right there. It is very important in maintaining homeostasis, really keeping all systems balanced inside the body. Things like hunger, thirst, temperature, sleep. It is going to have a major impact body-wide. Pituitary, pineal, hypothalamus, three different endocrine structures all in the brain. Okay? Now, let's go further down into the abdomen. Let's look at the adrenal glands and the thymus. The adrenal glands, they sit on top of the kidneys. So we know that's kind of in your back, that retroperitoneal space. On top, like a little hat, the kidneys wear the adrenal glands. And they make hormones that are going to turn our system on and make us go. Cortisol and adrenaline are the two big hormones I want you to think about when you think about the adrenal glands. They're like your fight or flight, let's run, a bear is chasing us, we have to go, go, go. Sometimes we also call cortisol our stress hormone because our adrenal glands will release cortisol in times of stress to help keep us going. Then we have our thymus. This is a little higher up. Adrenal glands were down here. Thymus is up here just above the heart and in front of the trachea. It's actually very interesting because it's most important during adolescence and childhood. It actually atrophies throughout of our lives. But the thymus is where we make T cells. Does anyone remember back from our hematology when we talked about the system of all our blood cells? what type of cell a T cell is? I know some of you were at that lecture. Do you remember what we talked about? What is a T cell? Alicia says protection. Yes, it does help it protect us, Alicia. Yeah. How does it do that? Yes, Emmanuel, it is one of our white blood cells. Absolutely. It's part of that adaptive immune system we talked about either last week or the week before. That when it recognizes a specific invader, yeah, Carla said destroy, it goes and destroys it. So I always remember T cell, T for T cell, T for thymus, and that helps me remember what the thymus is doing. Okay. Now, we're kind of in that neck region, so it makes sense to talk about the thyroid and parathyroid next. The thyroid helps regulate metabolism, okay? The more we put out thyroid hormone, the more energy we have. Thyroid hormone is like gas in the car, it increases energy. Behind the thyroid gland, we have four parathyroid glands. So this kind of like butterfly looking thing over here, that's the thyroid. And see the four spots behind it? That's the parathyroid. Tiny little glands, and they produce one hormone, parathyroid hormone. We didn't get original with that naming. That was pretty easy. Thyroid produces thyroid hormone, parathyroid produces parathyroid hormone. What does parathyroid hormone do? It helps regulate the level of calcium in our blood. All right. When parathyroid goes up, calcium goes up. When parathyroid goes down, calcium goes down. Okay. So, overarching situation here, you guys see we've got endocrine organs, they release hormones. Those hormones help keep our body in balance, okay? They work all over the body in all different ways, from blood cells like T cells in the thymus to fluids and electrolytes like calcium from the parathyroid hormone. So their impact is vast all around the body, okay? That was a lot of info. Whew. I don't know about you guys. I think we need to do a little knowledge check to see where everyone is at. Okay, tell me which of the following describes the function of the pancreas? Nice. Good. Okay, I think you guys have all got it. It is B. The pancreas is releasing the molecules affecting glucose. Those molecules are the hormones, insulin and glucose. Insulin makes our blood sugar go down. Glucagon makes our blood sugar go up. So they are both affecting glucose, how much glucose is in our blood. Really good. Now tell me what structure in the endocrine system develops mature T cells. Nice. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. D, the thymus. T for T cell, T for thymus. The thyroid makes the thyroid hormone, which is our metabolism, our gas in the car. It helps give us energy. The adrenal gland are the glands that sit on top of the kidneys like hats, and they release cortisol, norepinephrine, epinephrine, our stress hormones. They make us go. The pituitary gland is that master endocrine gland up in the brain, right? Helping control. Now, that's a good segue into talking about the interaction between all of these systems because the pituitary gland is really a master controller between systems. We never just have something in isolation when it comes to the body, right? Nervous system, how does it plug in here? There is rapid response to stimuli through all the neural pathways. And then the endocrine system provides longer lasting responses by releasing hormones into the bloodstream, but it doesn't work quite as fast, okay? It's going to be a little slower, but a little longer lasting. So, for example, the hypothalamus, it links the nervous system to the endocrine system. It receives a signal from the brain, nervous system, detects it, and it releases either inhibiting or hormones that are going to make us stimulate, that are going to go, respective of different glands, and inhibiting hormones that release hormones from those glands. That's why we kind of think of it as the master control. It gets input from the nervous system, and then it's going to help control what endocrine systems go on. Okay? So tell me, which structure links electrical messages from the nervous system to the chemical messages of that endocrine system? What was that structure we just talked about? Mm-hmm. Yep, you got it. Absolutely. Good job. All right. I'm seeing some A's and some C's. So I'm glad you guys know it's not the pineal gland. That's what does melatonin. That's what helps us sleep, right? The medulla, that doesn't have any point in the endocrine system. Medulla is a brain stem structure that helps us breathe. So you guys knew it was either the hypothalamus or the pituitary. Really good. The pituitary is activated by hormones, but hormones that are released from the hypothalamus. Honestly, I think of it as a middleman. The hypothalamus is what's plugged into the nervous system, sends those signals to the pituitary. It gets activated from the hypothalamus and then releases further hormones, kind of like a chain reaction. So, correct answer here is A. Linking the nervous system to the endocrine system is the hypothalamus. And it's all for the point of maintaining homeostasis. Do you guys understand what we mean when we say this fancy word, homeostasis? This is used all the time in anatomy and physiology. And it's just this stable internal environment. So we detect a change, we control with that nervous and or endocrine system and send the signals out to the body to do whatever it is they need to do. That is all that's happening in the endocrine system. It happens in a ton of different ways, in different places with different hormones, but that's the overarching idea. Detect a change, figure out what to do with it, send that signal out, send that hormone out, and make the change. So we'll end with showing you guys the two big ways that that happens, and it's called a feedback loop. It can be either a positive feedback loop or it can be a negative feedback loop, but we're going to start with positive. What that means is that the change, whatever we sense, it's going to be amplified. And if the amplified change moves the body further and further away from homeostasis until there is a concrete event. And our classic example in every textbook is childbirth. So what happens first, the first change that, disrupts the internal environment and sends that signal, the baby's ready to be born, and the fetus's head presses against the cervix. That activates nerves. Okay, that's the first step. And that's plugging into our nervous system. We got nerve impulses from the cervix. They're going up to the brain. They're like, whoa, this baby's head is pushing on the cervix. This is where the nervous system ties in to the endocrine system. The brain, they get this response from the nervous system going to the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus sends this signal over to the pituitary gland and it says, hey, you got to make some oxytocin. Oxytocin is the hormone that helps contract the uterus so that the baby can be born. All right, so we just had nerve impulse go to hypothalamus, send impulse to pituitary gland, and pituitary gland sent out a hormone that's now going into the bloodstream down to the uterus and stimulating uterine contractions. All right, what's going to happen when that uterus contracts and pushes the baby further on the cervix? We're going to get more nerve impulses. And the brain's going to send that signal to the pituitary and it's going to release oxytocin. And that oxytocin is going to cause more contractions. And those contractions are going to push the head of the baby against the cervix. And the pushing of the head of the baby is going to cause nerve impulses. Do you see what I mean by positive feedback? It goes around and around and around. It will be amplified until childbirth is complete. All right? Does the nerve impulse get by the hypothalamus? I like that question, Zumu. Yes. The hypothalamus is what connects our nervous system to our endocrine system. So those nerve impulses from the cervix, they go to the brain in the hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus is in control. It's got to figure out what to do. It's going to send that signal. The brain stimulates, the hypothalamus stimulates the pituitary gland. And that sends out the hormone oxytocin. And we go around and around and around until there is a baby. Does this make sense to you guys? Are you as excited as me that you see like the nervous system plugging into the endocrine system and how it works on the reproductive system? It's a ton of the things we've talked about in the last few lectures. They kind of come together. They all work together. Okay. I like the thumbs up. Amazing. Now, naturally, we have positive. That means we're also going to have negative. So this will be the last thing we cover today. This negative feedback mechanism kind of works the opposite way. It really puts us back towards homeostasis. So we see a change. We're like, oh, no, we don't want to go that direction. Let's reel it back in. And we come back in. You can think about your body having a set point, is something we say in anatomy a lot. Like, this is my normal temperature, 98.6. If I go away from that set point, negative feedback kicks in and it brings us back to the middle. A really good example is regulating blood glucose, okay? Honestly, this has a lot of details. This is probably more than you need to know. What you need to know is that the level in your glucose, level of glucose in your blood goes up, and the body's like, "Ooh, that's a little too high. I need to make a hormone that will bring that back down." We know the pancreas is what does that. That's the organ. It makes insulin. Insulin brings the glucose back down, okay? And then we're back to the middle. But what if my pancreas makes a little too much insulin? Or I don't eat lunch and I'm like, oof, I haven't had enough glucose. Our glucose drops down, and then the pancreas says, I need to get my glucose up. So then it makes glucagon, the counterpoint hormone that brings glucose up. It's all about keeping it in the middle. Glucose goes down, we make glucagon, it comes back up. Glucose goes up, we make insulin, it comes back down. So we stay in the middle to that set point. The same thing happens with temperature, with blood pressure, with our pH in our blood. Our body really likes us to be at that set point. So positive, we go around and around and around, further away from the set point until something happens, like a baby's born. Negative, we go away from the set point, we come back. We go away, we come back. All done with those hormones. Okay, so it's time for our end of lesson little quiz, little check here. Last little knowledge check. Tell me, insulin's released by what? And it decreases the blood sugar levels by what? Oh, this is kind of hard. I didn't super talk about how insulin works. So you guys know it's going to be C or D, right? Use your test taking skills. You're like, insulin is for sure released by the pancreas. And it's telling you it decreases the blood sugar by what? So I want you guys to think through. by what the amount of sugar stored in cells. So I did not tell you how insulin works. I will in a second. But just think about if I've got my cell and my blood, and I got a lot of sugar in my blood, what would I have to do to decrease blood sugar? Okay, okay. We're changing answers. It is C. Really, really good. I focused so much on telling you guys insulin lowers blood sugar, insulin lowers blood sugar. I didn't really harp on how it works. Insulin is like a key that opens your cells. So instead of having sugar in the blood, insulin opens the cell and the sugar goes inside. It goes into its little home. So it doesn't like eat up the sugar or get rid of it. It just moves where it is. It goes from the blood into the cell. Yeah, so a lot of us maybe read that question very quickly and we're just like, ooh, insulin, decrease because it's decreasing the blood sugar. So that's another good test taking tip. Make sure to read the question all the way through. Take your time. Take your time. Okay. Last knowledge check. Last knowledge check. Shake it off. We're almost done. What statement best contrasts positive versus negative feedback loops? Hmm. I don't know why we only have two things here. You got 50-50. It's true or false. Good. Yep. Nice. A. Positive loops, we're amplifying. We're going further and further away from a set point. Negative loops restore that balance. They bring it back in. All right. You guys, nice work. That was a lot of info to cover. If you're needing a private tutor, as always, if this was too much, if you're like, whoa, let's reel it in, my friends, scan these QR codes for me or head over to the link at the bottom. We have got ample opportunities every single day. There's opportunities for you guys to get private tutoring in the areas of the T's you need help with. I always say, you don't want me teaching you math or English or reading. I'll teach you anatomy all day long. Sign up for that. But if you need help with the English, the reading, the math, we have got a dedicated tutor for everything. Okay. And as always, I mean, really, signing up for that Sure Pass is going to be the way to go. You get over 100 hours of these videos where you can actually just watch them at a slower pace, get all of the notes, review everything in depth, and pair it with our amazing question bank where you've got over 1,500 questions to really put into practice everything we've learned. So that QR code will take you. Also, I think I sent the site over before, but I'll pop it in the chat now. This is what it's going to look like here that's on my screen right now. So starting at just 29 bucks for a month of studying, it's going to get you absolutely everything you need from question bank, videos, notes, etc. And don't forget, once you're logged in, come over here to the live webinars and keep coming back with us. Our next webinar is on Monday. I'll put that in the chat as well. We're going to do biology on Monday because we've been doing a lot of anatomy. So if those of you need some biology, then go ahead and come over with us. Let's see. Comment here. Skeletal system. We did skeletal system last week, so it'll be a little bit before I do skeletal live again. But, whoops, I'm typing in nonsense here. If you come over to the on-demand, get that Sure Pass, and here, skeletal system, 45 minutes, give you bite-sized chunks, the notes, everything for skeletal system, okay? Right there. Boop, boop, boop. Oop, I had one question here from a friend on Zoom. Can you repeat how it increases the amount of sugar in the cell? Yes, this is how insulin works. Insulin is a key that unlocks your cell. So if we've got lots of sugar in our blood, insulin unlocks the cell and the sugar goes in. I saw somebody on YouTube put insulin puts the sugar in. So insulin in, that can help you as a little memory trick. Make sure you know it puts the insulin The insulin puts the sugar in the cell, okay, which then decreases how much sugar is actually in the blood, decreasing our blood sugar, okay. That is how it works. Awesome. All right. I think I've gotten everyone's questions. Are there any other questions? Any other questions before we all split for the weekend and we will see you on Monday? Yes. Okay. All right. Well, if you do have other questions, do not hesitate to reach out to us via email. We have got pre-nursing at archerreview.com for all of your pre-nursing questions, concerns, anything that we can help you with. We are more than happy to do so. That's not an email that goes out to a tech support or anything. It's just right to us, our pre-nursing team. So we will get back to you anytime. Do not hesitate to reach out. Have a wonderful weekend. And I cannot wait to see you guys back for some biology studying next Monday. Bye, everyone.